Well, this is it. 24th anniversary of September 11th, 2001. And, I tell you the truth, Darren, I was thinking about it earlier today and, like I'm in shock. We're almost at a quarter century. And I remember that day very clearly. Um, and
Yes.
yet here we are trying to make sense of the situation and try to make sense of the investigation and the evidence that we have. And for those who are new to this channel, I'm Adam Fitzgerald. I'm the co-host of the Dark and Dower. I'm a 9/11 researcher, journalist, and uh, podcaster. And with me today is a special guest, 9/11 researcher and co-host of the 9/11 themed podcast Beyond Ground Zero, Darin Harvey. And Darren, boy, you remember the day clearly, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I was fresh out of high school, Adam. I was 18 years old. And I remember I woke up and the first tower was already hit. Um, the North Tower, the first one that got hit by Flight 11. And I got a phone call from my sister-in-law,
Hmm.
maybe like 10 to 9 or something like that. It was getting closer to 9. And she's like, "We're under attack." And I was like, "What do you mean we're under attack?" I just woke up, and
Yeah.
remember I was putting some breakfast burritos in the microwave in the basement, and so she's like, "Turn the TV," and my TV's always on ESPN because I'm a big sports guy,
Yeah.
and I turn it on, and ESPN has it, and I see the North Tower, on fire, burning, and then a few minutes later, I actually witnessed. I think a lot of us did. It was Flight 175 hitting the South Tower. And at that point, I don't know how I could react. I was numb. I was scared because I didn't know I didn't know what else was going to happen. It's like I'm from Michigan, so is Michigan going to be next? Is
Mm.
Detroit going to get hit? I'm an hour from Detroit, so I was scared at him. I really was. I'm not afraid to admit it. As an 18-year-old kid, I didn't I didn't really know much about terrorism, especially in the
No.
Middle East. I wasn't familiar with Osama bin Laden. I don't remember the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. I was 11 years
Yeah.
old when that happened. I don't remember that stuff. But yeah, man, it was a somber day because the rest of the day I just watched the news and watched a lot of people that lost their lives and the families that were all affected. So this is why I do it too. It's more for the families and
Mm.
um, it's just because they're the ones suffering. Man, I feel so bad, and just unfortunately, after 24 years, we still have to battle all the crazy conspiracies that
Mm.
still haunt this movement to this day. And these families deserve justice, and I hope they get it one day.
Yeah, well, I echo those sentiments
Yeah.
myself. And, with all the detriment coming from like, the government itself and also with the truth movement itself, it's almost like we're in the pincher in the middle. But at least we got some good news.
Hmm.
And that was recently with the Southern District of New York reversing their
Totally.
decision about, letting the case go forward, the civil litigation case against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia from Creedler and Creedler, Motley Rice, and other law firms that are involved with the case. There are various law firms, but those are
Hmm.
the two most prominent. And I figured, what am I going to do? I'd like to do something every anniversary. And then you said you wanted to do something. I said, all right, thank goodness, because I really I didn't know what to do to be honest with you. And why not smack it with another Florida Bulldog article? And
Yeah.
boy, Darren, Dan Christensen is
Yes.
pariah. Wow, as he's been great this year.
Yeah.
Really.
So if people don't know the Florida Bulldog, they're all over Twitter/X, they're on Facebook. Please go give them a follow. Him and I know Robin Swan's the other one. They do
Yes.
just absolute wonderful work, and it's all factual stuff. These are no conspiracies. These are actual stuff that can be proven in court. These are actual documents that they can prove. Um, so yeah, it's if you guys get a chance, please follow Dan Christensen, the Florida Bulldog, and Robin Swan and them. They just do phenomenal work, and I told them today. I told them on Facebook, you guys do a great job, and they said thank you, and Yeah, so please support them as much as you can because really, Adam, they're really the only news outlet that really even reports on this. I mean, where's Fox? Where's CNN? They're too distracted by other stuff, and it's just like this is even though it's 24 years later, Adam, this is probably the greatest tragedy ever in our life. A lot of us, we weren't around when JFK got assassinated or when Pearl Harbor got bombed. This was our Pearl Harbor slash JFK slight type of
Yeah.
thing. And yes, it's been 24 years, guys, but that event changed everything in the world, not just the United States, but the world.
Hmm.
And it changed the future for many people because you got to think about all the wars that's happened since and all the millions and millions of people have died and the money and just everything that's splintered off from these unjust wars from the United States and the war on terror is crazy. So they do absolute wonderful work because they're really the only ones that really report on it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, we
Mhm.
have, other articles. Lord Dragon is one that does
Yeah.
some articles here and there, but the most prominent, most consistent voice in terms of media has been Florida Bulldog, and they're the ones who put out over the years the biggest FOIA revelations that
Mhm.
we've had. They were behind the Operation Encore file releases,
Yes.
and the releases for the certain Saudi documents that show that there was a wider conspiracy involving, even high level government officials. And
Right.
in this article we're going to read today, and let's get on with it. I mean, here, the entitlement is, it was published earlier on today, but Saudi intelligence wanted 9/11 Commission to clear key suspect who turned out to be a Saudi spy. I
Yeah.
mean, by the way, where's the truth movement on this? You'd think they would be all over publishing
No.
Florida Bulldog's
I,
articles.
I unfortunately, Adam, they're too worried about a building that nobody died in. That's the seriously. I hate to say it, but that's the focus now. The truth movement is building 7. And it's more prominent now that you got like Tucker Carlson and even Kurt Weldon. Kind of a little disappointed in that, but these guys are just that's like their focus, Adam. It's like it doesn't make any sense.
I am really like surprised at the level of like sheer almost ignorance
Mhm.
regarding the coverage of Saudi Arabia's role in the United States, which is very prominent. And I've always said years ago, Darren, that if we can get to the Saudis, we can put our foot in the door, and then maybe get to the Israelis. But we have to basically admit that some of our preconceived conspiracy theories have been wrong, but
Yes.
they haven't been able to do that, Darren.
Well,
And for
more
whatever reason, by
right.
the way.
And a lot of our evidence points to the Saudis. There's stuff with Israeli stuff.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
but I think we need more evidence with Israeli stuff. I get the whole thing, and people think Israel did 9/11. That's in my opinion, that's not the case because last time I knew it, it wasn't Israelis who hijacked the planes and crashed them in the buildings. So we got a lot more evidence on the Saudis right now.
Yeah, right. And this is the thing, like with foreign intelligence, I mean, we already know about, Israel and Saudi's role.
Sure.
And,
Hmm.
it's taboo to talk about Israel, especially right now,
Yeah,
with
sure.
what's going on in Gaza. But at the same time, I really hope, Darren, when my fear is that with these far right extremists now who have like a hatred toward Jews in general, hijack this, taboo subject and then talk about the crazy conspiracy. And then what happens is people like me and you are going to get dragged along with it because we
Right.
question, we want to get answers with foreign intelligence. That's my
Absolutely.
fear.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
So, all right, here we are. Robert Swan, Dan Christensen, and let's read it right off the top.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabian intelligence officials pushed the 9/11 Commission's top staff to exonerate a key Saudi suspect, Omar al-Bayoumi, who the FBI later concluded was a Saudi spy who provided significant support to the first two Al Qaeda hijackers to enter the United States. That's, by the way, that's Khalid al Madar and Nawaf al Hazmi. And that
Yes.
disclosure is contained in a long withheld 9/11 Commission memorandum released to Florida Bulldog in late August
Mm.
of this year by the National Archives. Um, and this 7-page memo, which is a memorandum for the record from the 9/11 Commission, which is talking about the plotters in the Mahabeth being Saudi Arabian intelligence, and from the Arabic, it's called the General Intelligence Director,
Yes.
and they were involved in the providing logistical and financial support to individuals in which Florida Bulldog does name Omar al Bayoumi, Fahad al Tamari, Osama Basnan, headed by Muwassid al Jarrah, to Khalid al Badr and Nawaf al Hazmi.
Yeah.
And that was a huge revelation earlier this
Yes.
year, wasn't it, Darin?
Absolutely. And then a lot of people know too with Musab Al Jara there. He was at the Saudi embassy, and we're at
Yes. Yeah.
Washington, right in the
Mm,
United States. Man, what a slap in the face. Doing right there on their own American soil. And that should right there, Adam, in my opinion, should make Americans just furious. This wasn't done in, you know, Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan. This was
right.
right here
Right
in
here.
Washington, D.C.
Right in the
Wow.
right in the heart of the political
Right
discourse.
in the heart. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was almost like they did it on purpose. Like here, we're doing right in front of your noses and you did nothing about it.
Correct. Just like how the hijackers lived openly. They had, credit cards in their name, driver's license in their name, what they know, right?
Right.
The
Absolutely.
seven-page memo reveals the cozy working relationship among participants in the October 17, 2003 meeting, including 9/11 Commission Executive Philip Zelikow and at least two FBI agents, as well as members of the kingdom's domestic intelligence agency, the Mahabet, or the General Intelligence Directorate. And it says PZ, that's the name under the document, Zelikow, gave a brief description of the commission's work, and it was agreed that the United States and Saudi Arabian sides are working for mutual benefit. Why?
I don't know. It's,
Well,
that,
it's
and I get why John Gold hates Zelikow so much. This
well, I
gives you.
don't blame him. Right.
Yeah, no, Philip Zalgow is a piece of crap. Should be in prison. He oh man,
It's frustrating.
it is frustrating, and and people are going to use, oh well, he's Jewish. Like, that doesn't matter to me. The point is like he was had the commission report. He either got wind from upper management in the White House to cover this
Mm,
up.
mm,
Probably more than likely. I imagine because the Bush administration protected the Saudis, and that
absolutely.
working relationship. So where was he getting his orders from? You know, and he definitely followed them with the cover up of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11.
Correct. Look, the memo had previously been withheld from the public in its entirety on the national security grounds. By the way, that was echoed in the first Trump administration under Attorney General William Barr, in which, in the first Trump administration, he promised to release 9/11 documents. Here they are, sealed away from civil court. By the way, Obama did it too. So just so just olders of the Republicans know, this is a State Department issue, and it doesn't
It
matter the
is,
party
yeah,
under its regulations in the National Archives does not comment on which agency or government department had requested the classification, but it came from the Attorney General. By the way, that's directly from the president itself. But the meeting was held at the Conference Palace in Saudi Arabia capital Riyadh, and also in attendance was the Commission's senior counsel, Dietrich Snell,
mm,
and FBI agent Tom Powers and Nahil Sabra, both of them serving as legal attaches. The names of at least two participants are redacted still to this day.
well,
The U.S. representative, which means I think they're still active. That's the reason why. But
probably.
the U.S. representatives had finished interviewing Bayoumi at 1:30 a.m. and went immediately into the session with the intelligence officials to hear the results of the Mahabet's investigation of the 15 Saudi hijackers, the muscle hijackers,
Yeah.
in the horrendous 9/11 attacks on New York, Washington. The four of the hijackers were nationals of the United Arab Emirates, that's Marwan al Shehi,
Yep.
Lebanon, Ziad Jarrah,
Sure.
Egypt, Mohammed Atta. And the 9/11 Commission's memorandum for the record of the meeting says it concluded with an extensive discussion of the current status of al Bayoumi, that the Mahabet would like to see him cleared. Now, Darin, why would that be?
Wow, Adam, that's the $1 million question, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, people are not familiar with Bayoumi. He was a Saudi spy. They gave him a fake
Mhm.
job. He was there directed by Masoud Al Jarrah,
Right?
and to give logistical support to the hijackers, to give them help
Yeah.
them with their credit cards, rent, and so on. So, and you know what's funny too, Adam, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I forget which one it was. I think it was Al Hazmi. He actually thought that Bayoumi was a spy.
That's correct. That's
Like
right.
he even knew, like, yeah, this guy something's wrong. So even the hijacker of Flight 77, Al
Right.
Hazmi, knew there was something off with him and that he was a Saudi spy. Isn't that crazy?
What does that tell you? Like this guy didn't even hide it.
No, not
He
at
was
all.
poor at it.
Yeah.
Well, and while the Saudis got no insurances about Bayoumi, the 9/11 Commission report published 9 months later concluded that our investigations, who have dealt directly with him and studied the background, found him to be an unlikely candidate for clandestine involvement in Islamist extremities. Just I, he was,
Did you-
and yet the FBI Encore files showed that it was the opposite,
Right.
that he had clandestine involvement with, ghost companies like you mentioned before, Galafco being one. And he
Yep.
did have Islamist extremists under him. Abu Said al-Jarrah, the FBI concluded that he had connections with al-Qaeda affiliates overseas and al-Qaeda itself.
Right.
So, I mean, goodness gracious, a Saudi cover-up. The tone of the commission's meeting with Saudi intelligence officers had been set earlier in the evening when the Mahabet interrupted the interview with Bayoumi, who had denied any wrongdoing, to throw a multi-course dinner for their American guests. It was a collegiate affair, which Bayoumi did not attend. Now, why would they do that, Darren? To throw the whole, commit the interview, of course, because
Right.
they didn't want
Exactly.
Bayoumi to be talking.
No, they want him to say something that like it's gonna, basically indict him.
Correct, right, exactly. And Jody Westbrook Flowers, who's the co-lead counsel representing 9/11 victims' families in their long-running civil suit against the kingdom, described the newly released document as evidence that the narrative around those who sponsored and supported 9/11 hijackers prior to the attacks have been intentionally manipulated and covered up for decades now,
Decades.
covered up by Saudi intelligence,
Hmm.
FBI,
FBI.
under the direction of the State Department. And, she said to the email in the Florida Bulldog, the evidence is overwhelming that Bayoumi was acting to assist the hijackers. Yes. If
Yes,
you
and I'm
just read the opera, right, go ahead.
exactly. No, I'm just saying that you read the Operation Encore memo, and then you also, I am so glad Judge George Daniels agreed because
Oh,
he said
oh,
there's evidence to do this, and this is a step in the right direction for the families to get some kind of justice here because it's so evident. The evidence is, like I said, it's
mm,
overwhelming. It's not like, oh, there's some evidence. When you use the word overwhelming, there means there's a lot there, a lot. And just by the stuff that we talk about
right.
um with Al Hazmi and Al Midar and the CIA and withholding information, the
Well,
NSA, your interview with Thomas Drake, which was fantastic, by the way.
oh, thank
um
you.
the it's funny with the we I kind of get off course here with the shared info was the NSA, basically the CIA, they called it equity. Basically I get mine and yeah, you get your own. This is mine. I ain't sharing it with you. You
Correct.
know, and that type of attitude, that equity that Thomas Drake liked to say,
Mm,
cost 3,000 people their lives, and then many
correct.
more with the wars. So yeah, it's disheartening, Adam, because this all could have been prevented. It all could have been prevented, and yet here we are, 24 years later, talking about decades of cover up. Wow.
It's mind blowing to say the least. And go back to your point about what George Daniels. For those who don't know, earlier a week ago, the Southern District of New York under George Daniels, who was covering the Saudi litigation case, had made a ruling that the case is going to continue, which is a
Yes,
rare win. This is
that's rare.
huge
Yeah, take
because
them.
right. And Florida Bulldog reported, this was unknown to me, that new evidence involving Sarasota, Florida, and Broward County and Miami-Dade are all going to come to light, classified stuff. So I'm like, wow, that's Adnan Shukna Jr. That's the Al Hijj family. I'm like, I can't wait because they hosted the Hamburg cell in their house. Wow, I wonder what stuff they got there, Darren.
Adam, and just to go off a little base here, and I talked to Sean Russell today on a little bit through
Oh,
Facebook, and Florida. We talk about out west, but out east, there's so much.
the
Uh,
Nexus.
this, and I really kicked myself in the ass for not pursuing this more with Daniel Hopsicker, with the
Oh
Venice flying. I wish I picked
man,
his brain before he passed away. Rest in peace, Dan.
yes,
But there was something there. And you want to talk about intelligence. You had Israeli intelligence following the hijackers in Florida. But who was Muhammad Atta's best friends? Europeans. They weren't just Arabs. They were
right.
German, Swiss, Europeans. And then I come to find out that Rudy Deckers, who we can go into some other time, but Rudy Deckers, who was
Right,
a head of the Huffman Flying Aviation School, where Ziad Jarrah and Marwan Al Shehi and Atta
correct,
took flying lessons,
right.
is that he witnesses said that he was even German, not Dutch. And that's the crazy part is these Europeans were Atta's like close friends, doing
Mm,
coke,
yeah,
drinking, going to strip clubs, and there's so much more there um, in Venice that I don't know, man. I feel like there's so much more to gather there, and because I don't feel it just was Israeli intelligence there, I feel like there might have been German intelligence there.
yes,
Because
yes.
where did the Hamburg cell come from? Hamburg,
Right.
Germany.
Hamburg, Germany.
Yeah, and then there's a connection there. So who knows with the FBI and CIA's, and these airports and with Mossad. I know I'm going off course, but there's so
No,
much
no.
there in Florida, and I hope so with Sarasota because man, they were living the life in Florida before the hijackings. It's
That's
incredible.
correct. Dude, no, you weren't going, of course, but it just shows you the expansive nature of
There's so
9/11.
much.
It just
There's so
is,
much.
fucks, man. It's
You know,
it's
you
a
know,
it's enormous.
California is great to focus on with Al Hazmi and Al Middar,
Right.
Bayoumi, Fahad Al Thameri. You have Hani Anjor in Arizona. That's
Yeah.
that's awesome. But man, Florida is nuts. There's so much there. We could probably talk 10 hours about Florida
I
nonstop.
guarantee. Guarantee
We
you.
could. We could write 3 books on it because there's
Yeah.
so much in Florida. It's insane.
Well, it's considered the hub of the 9/11 nexus activity inside the United States. I mean,
Yes.
look, you had two cells. You had Alameda and Hosby out west, but then you had the Hamburg cell out east, and that's
Hmm.
Florida, right?
Yeah.
And then later on, they all meet up where? New York,
Newark.
right? Boston, Maryland, New Jersey, and that's where, as you pointed out earlier, rightfully so, Israeli intelligence are monitoring as well. So it's a huge expansive topic. It's not
It is
relegated to just ground zero.
right.
Some people like to,
Yeah.
know.
Yep. It goes
So
beyond that.
yeah, it goes well
Well,
beyond
yeah.
that. So the FBI investigation and the work of Congress's prior to joint inquiry into 9/11 had focused the commission's interest on Saudi student Bayoumi and that he had befriended Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi when they arrived in the U.S. in early 2000. And he provided the pair with substantial assistance, helping
Hmm.
them with their move to San Diego, okay, opening a bank account, which with the help of another individual named Anwar al-Awlaki,
Yep.
who actually called from the
Hmm.
Masjid al-Salam to the bank to, act in accordance with getting them a bank account.
Yeah.
And
Now,
even
okay. Yep. No,
yeah, and
sorry.
co-signing no, no, yeah, and co-signing the lease on their apartment. And I think that was for 3 months
Yes.
that he paid the rent.
Yeah, and it's funny too because in Milwaukee, he eventually moved to Virginia,
That's
and that's
correct.
where Nawaf
Yeah,
Hazmi and them
yeah,
drove all the way across. You remember, I think
right.
Nawaf Hazmi got a ticket in Oklahoma, a speeding ticket, I believe.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
to go see him in Virginia, and there's also some Virginia connections as well because the hijackers and others operatives met up in Virginia. I think it was
I don't know.
what was it? Was it the fall? What was that
Falls
church?
Church. Falls
Yes,
Church.
yes,
Falls Church. Yeah. You know
yeah.
what's funny, Darren? I don't know if you know this, but I want to pick your brain about it. There's a funny story involving Nawaf al-Hadbi. He gets robbed.
Did he
Someone
file?
mugs him.
Didn't he file a police report?
Yeah, fuck. Oh my! When you
Yes,
said he was speeding, I said, "Oh my God, that's
I
right." And he
remember
also
that.
got robbed. He got
Yeah, Robbie,
mugged.
didn't he file the police report and he had his name? He used his real name.
Correct. Correct.
Ugh.
And I'm like, "Oh my God, a terrorist is getting mugged, and he's writing a police report." You can't make this shit up. I,
you imagine the CIA shared that with the FBI? FBI would have arrested him like that.
I mean,
They probably would have arrested him in
no,
California.
wait, no, just as soon as they land,
As soon as they landed, they've been
as soon as they
arrested.
land, because the NSA and CIA already known they were coming to Los Angeles on January 15th of 2000,
Right.
and they said, "Don't tell the FBI." So, on with the. Oh, that's funny though.
Yeah.
But Bayumi, in the previous investigative efforts revealed, had extensive contact with Saudi government entities in the United States, including at least three individuals at the embassy in Washington. All right, now I'm going to say that those three entities were the guy you said earlier, Musa Al Jarrah, and his
Yeah.
two emissaries from Saudi Arabia, Mutiab Al Saderi and Adel Al Sadhan.
Yes.
Thank you, Florida Bulldog, for getting
Yes.
that FOIA to reveal their names to us through Operation Encore. And he had received a salary as an employee of the Civil Aviation Authority, which is a branch of the Saudi government. Although he didn't work, he was a ghost employee. Now, his income had reportedly increased substantially following the future hijackers' arrival and dropped when they had left.
Yeah, so there was an operation going on.
But
And in the Canistro files, if you guys haven't read that yet, please do so because that explains
yes,
it
yes.
explains all that. So how the Saudis and CIA were running an illegal operation together. So yeah, thanks to the Canistro files, wow, that was one of the best information we got on 9/11 is the Donald Castro files. So please, if you haven't read them, please do so. I know Adam, you did a total breakdown on videos about the Castro files, and I cannot express to people who want to learn more about this to really check that
Mm.
out because it
It
explains all
was
that.
for me, it's the biggest revelation. All
It
because well,
probably is.
why is it big? Is because the individuals named in the document had to um, keep their identity from being public because they saw classified information,
Right.
classified.
Yes.
Okay. So this is without a doubt, valid. It's irrefutable, but they can't tell them who they are because they saw classified information and spoke with
Right.
Canestraro under an anonymity, but they spoke about what they saw. So now, as you can see, but now Saudi intelligence wanted the man cleared on the basis of one interview by the commission staff, and before the 9/11 panel had even completed its work. That's fascinating to me because the commission team, it says here, the commission team was in Saudi Arabia only after high level intercession by the White House Commissioner's Chief Zelikow, would
Mhm.
later tell author Philip Shannon, who, by the way, wrote a book called
Yeah,
um,
I have it.
yeah, do
It's
you? The
yeah, it's
9/11,
called
it's the
nine.
9/11, it
No,
was
I
about the
have
9/11 Commission. It was about the
yes.
9/11 Commission, right? I don't have the book. I wish I did.
I do have
Um,
it. It's I haven't read it yet, but I do have it.
but you
It's
do
in
have
my 30 books I need to read.
me and you both. But he would tell Philip Shannon that he had appealed directly to the National Security Advisor, Condoleezza Rice, who promoted Zelikow to this position a month prior to the commission's travel to the kingdom. You wonder why. And I asked her to intercede directly with Prince Bandar. That's
Yes.
Bandar Bush, by the way. Then the kingdom's ambassador to the United States, who, by the way, if for those who don't know, also had a financial courier directly
Yes.
from his bank, Riggs Bank, through his wife's bank
Wife.
account,
Hmm.
all right, Haifa bin Faisal, directly to a payment to the wife of Osama Basnan, Mawida Dawijak, who then took, that money went to Osama Basnan, and then that went to Khalid Ahmad Awad Hasmi.
Yes.
So he was getting funding from Bandar and Omar al Bayumi.
Yes.
Another link, another link.
Yep.
Now, Zelikow says, we intended to interrogate several Saudi citizens in person, and we also needed other cooperation from their security intelligence services. I asked her directly for that help and explained what we wanted. I believe she did not contact Prince Bandar on our behalf and help secure appropriate Saudi cooperation. I then met with Prince Bandar myself to go over what we would need. And, this is where the interference fucking comes from.
Mhm.
Why would you ask Bandor what you need? You're investigating the kingdom. I, oh my God. I mean, this is and also, you sense here in the puzzle palace of U.S. Saudi relations to gain the access they required, the commission was forced to fall back on a favor from Prince Bandar, whose own possible financial links to one of the Bayomi's associates was supposedly under scrutiny. That associate is Osama Basnan. Now,
So
there
this
comes
is
the early.
yeah. So this is all cover up. So it's this the Saudi and U.S. relations.
Holiness, yeah.
You did not want to make one of your so-called greatest ally look bad.
Darin, I'm starting to think our allies are our enemies.
Oh yeah, yeah. Saudi and Israel. I don't think they're the greatest
Yeah,
allies.
God, the level of cooperation would be a dramatic volte-face. In the days after 9/11, the Saudi embassy, Washington embassy, mounted, by the way, that's where Mursid al-Jar works,
Yep.
mounted a propaganda campaign to counter the perception that Saudi Arabia was in any way responsible. By the way, in the days after 9/11, Prince Turki bin Faisal, the head of the Mahabeth, that's
Hmm.
the General Intelligence Directorate, went on the attack and said that, I don't care about any commission or investigation. We're not hiding from it. Meanwhile, he's doing backdoor deals to Prince Bandar
Hmm.
about covering up Saudi Arabia's role. The public you ain't gonna get that. Even as U.S. investigators worked to unravel a plot that had seen 15 Saudis as the bulk of the muscle team of the 9/11 unleash mayhem in the United States at the behest of Osama bin Laden, millions of dollars flowed to public relations firms to restore the country's image as a friend and ally. That's right.
Yep.
Because after 9/11, what did Richard Clark do, the head of the counterterrorism center? Um, and by the way, the only one who basically said that we need to investigate those Saudis on those planes that left on the days where they weren't supposed to fly.
Right.
But the FBI said no, they're allowed to fly. But that order came from President Bush himself.
Bush. Yep.
And who was in that famous picture, Darin, with President Bush?
Oh, good old Bandar.
There you go. There you go. And you just can't make this stuff up. Saudi spokesman had early on waxed equivocal as to whether any of the hijackers had been Saudi nationals, even though the CIA had the list of all the hijackers anyway.
That's,
2 days after Bandar had been told of the CIA's conclusion that the 15 of the hijackers were Saudi, his spokesman said the terrorists had probably used stolen identities. Meanwhile, most of them came from, the southern tip of the country of Saudi Arabia. Now,
yep.
Bandar's father, the defense minister, Prince Sultan, doubted whether only bin Laden and his fellows were responsible and hinted that another power with advanced technical expertise may have been behind 9/11. That's interesting. I never heard that one. Um,
Yeah.
now,
Yeah. I've heard that type. I've heard.
oh, have you?
Yeah. I don't have the name. It was a Saudi. I wish I would have remembered it. But it was somebody in the Saudi like military, basically saying that you need to look at Israel for 9/11. Um. So
Oh,
yeah. So I have to find that article. If I find it, I'll show it to you. But they were basically saying you need to look at Israel, not us.
oh, that's interesting. I know if you could find that article, please
Yeah, I
share
want to
with me.
find it. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
find it.
Now, another senior prince who had chimed in was Naif, who was the head of the Interior Ministry, controlled the powerful Mahabet. Now, years before, Prince Naif had been involved in a series of events that had culminated in a troublesome young bin Laden leaving Saudi Arabia for good. And there's this big, um, this comes from Gerald Posner, that there was a backdoor deal made by
Mhm.
Prince Turki bin Faisal and bin Laden, that if he were to relocate to another country, they would unfreeze his assets, he
Right.
wouldn't be under house arrest, and he went to the Sudan.
Yes.
And by one account, Naive had authorized his departure in return for an undertaking that the young jihadists would not interfere in the internal affairs of Saudi Arabia. Now, also at the same time, Darin, there was a backdoor deal, again, another backdoor deal that paid him to the millions of dollars not to attack Saudi Arabia because U.S. military was stationed there in Mecca and Medina.
Yeah.
And then in December of 2001, Naif would say he had still did not believe that 15 hijackers had been Saudis. Instead, Sultan and Naif pointed to a familiar enemy. It is enough to see a number of U.S. congressmen wearing Jewish yarmulkes to explain the allegations against us. And in late 2002, now you've blamed the
Oh,
Zionists.
this is probably where I read it.
This is probably him. It sounds like
Yeah,
him.
this is what I read then. It was the Zionists. He said, not Israel. I'm sorry. I
Right, right, gotcha. But now you blame the Zionists, saying we put big question marks and ask who committed the events of September 11th and who benefited from them. I think the Zionists are behind
yeah,
these events.
that's what I read.
It's not an insane implication either. Yeah, I weren't the hijackers themselves, like you said earlier, but they sure were here monitoring all the
Well,
players.
I think we can come to the conclusion that the Mossad, whatever you want to say,
Mm,
they got
mm,
wind of the plot. There was a plot
yeah.
to
Mhm,
attack the United States. They got wind of it. They followed it,
mhm,
and just like other things, they like to say things last minute. The Mossad,
mhm.
they like to keep it for themselves and kind of let
Yeah,
things play out. And then like, oh, by the way, there was like these hijackers we were following. They're thinking about hijacking some planes. um, because I always when there's a crime, who does it benefit? Well, it didn't benefit the United States. A lot. 9/11 benefited Israel a lot.
yes, it did.
So there's no anti-Semitic stuff there. That's just
Right,
fact.
right. No,
You
right.
know.
I mean, yeah, through the General Che memorandum, which you're familiar with, uh,
Yes.
that the Israeli nationals, some of them were spies, and that they were conducting human and signals intelligence on many of the players of the 9/11 attacks. Now, look, I want to be very careful in saying I don't have
Yes.
evidence of what they had. They may not have nothing at all, but I happen to think and believe that they had, as you say, Darin, wind of the plot, the details,
Yeah.
right? Right,
Hmm.
because these 9/11 hijackers weren't too secretive about, hey, there's going to be an attack. I mean, we already know that Mohammed al-Sheikh, Khalid al-Mihdhar, Nawaf Hazmi were talking about a big attack. God knows what they were saying on the phone. Okay,
Well, that's the
so
thing. That's Israelis had phones tapped in the United States as well, and and I can't think of the name of the life of me. It was the name of the phone that got tapped in the United States. I think they were in Texas. You know what I'm talking about? I
you're
c-
killing me.
yeah, I know.
Damn it.
I can't think of the name. It's a big one,
Yeah,
and as it starts, I thought it started with the
this
A.
is killing me. It was that pro. Oh, I can't remember, Darren. I can't remember.
I know. I'm sorry. But
No,
yeah,
my mind.
that was they had a lot of the phones tapped.
Yeah,
Um,
you know what? I'm going to cheat
yeah, yeah.
because
Look
that's
it up
going to
for me.
bother me.
It's gonna kill me. It's just so that people know
Yeah,
what we're talking about. We're not making up anything. And
yeah. It's the Fox News reported on it, right?
yeah,
Damn it, Israel. Um, damn it. I know we're like
sorry.
look
I'm
desperately
sorry, guys. I
looking.
should know. We should know this.
Right. We can't know everything. We're getting older. Oh,
Amdocs.
Amdocs. Yeah, thank you,
Yes.
Darren.
Amdocs.
That's right.
Yes.
Amdocs. Amdocs. Huge spy operation.
Yes.
Huge. And okay, and it adds here that as for the investigation of the attacks, the Saudis have been less than helpful. We're getting zero cooperation, said a former CIA counterterrorism chief, Vincent Canestraro. And he said this a month after the attacks. Requests for name checks and personal information on the hijackers were turned down. Now, why would they be turned down? They knew that once we start asking for a few traces, the list would grow, and it's better to shut it down right away. Now, 3 months after 9/11, a senior Bush official said the Saudis were preparing only to dribble out a morsel of insignificant information one day at a time. And the Saudis only began to cooperate seriously in May of 2003 when an Al Qaeda brought the terrorist threat home by bombing Riyadh in Saudi Arabia.
Mm.
Now, in the atmosphere of the day, Director Zelkows entreaties to the White House were an essential ingredient in unblocking the commission's road to the kingdom. Once in Saudi Arabia, though, officials from Prince Nayef's Mahabet attended commission interviews. In other words, I'll give you an example. 9/11 commission interviewer Dieter Snell and Zelikow went to interview Fahad al-Damiri. Now, this is
Hmm.
in the commission report. This is not a classified piece of material. And they found him to be deceptive. It says it right in the commission
Hmm.
interview.
Yep.
And who's right behind him? the members of the Mahabet, they're right behind him, to make sure that he didn't slip up.
Right.
Now, a second declassified 9/11 memo, another long secret interview revealed how conflicted the kingdom's leaders remained even in October of 2003. And while in Riyadh, Zelikow and other commission staff met with Prince Talal bin Abdulaziz, a liberal, reform-minded younger son of Saudi Arabian's founder, bin Aziz. Now, in the record of that second meeting, also released to Florida Bulldog in late August, Prince Talal, previously identified by the commission as Saudi interview number one, characterized Saudi Arabia's desire to fight radicalism since 9/11. And they made a decision. Listen,
Yes.
we're bringing way too much attention to ourselves. We gotta crack it down.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
what that meant.
Oh
That's what
yeah.
that meant. Now, Talal was unsure, however, whether the Saudi leadership understood the problem it faced. I don't think they did. But Prince Talal explained that, for instance, pro-U.S. efforts such as increasing oil production after 9/11 attacks were played down because they would anger public opinion. And he also remarked that if he speaks up for the Saudi Arabians publicly, his life is at risk. So he is in a no-win situation.
No. Exactly.
And the prince's views are not included in the commission's final report. And it's because, as Darin said multiple times, this is all a cover-up in Saudi Arabia.
Yes. Yes.
Neither, neither commission staff nor American investigators were allowed access to the suspects' families.
Wow.
Now that's Khalid Ahmadar and Nawaf al-Hazmi's fathers,
Yep.
Abdul Aziz al-Amar, all these guys. Now, instead, the Mahabets investigative work on the background of the 15 muscle hijackers shared with Zelikow and Dieter Snell in their late night meeting with Bayoumi interview filtered into the 9/11 Commission's report, and it informs much of the detail on the men in Section 7 entitled Recruitment and Selection for 9/11. Now, get this, neither the Saudi embassy nor Zelikow responded to Dan Christian, the Florida Bulldog, and their request to explain who was at that meeting. And they agreed that the U.S. and Saudi Arabian sides are working for the mutual benefit of each other.
Mhm.
And what the mutual benefit was, nor to a similar request to comment on the Mahabet's pressure for the commission to exonerate Omar al fucking Bayoumi. So that was the whole thing all along, right?
Yes.
They wanted to clear him because when they clear him, they clear the connection between him and Muwasset al-Jarrah, and of course
Prince
to the Saudi
Bandar.
Arabian
Yep.
rights.
To all
Correct.
of them. Yes.
That's right. That's right. Now, Peter Sned said in an email that he didn't have sufficient memory of the events at issue to feel comfortable commenting. And he's a squirrely little fucker.
Yeah, I can't
Even
stand him
after,
either.
yeah, I mean,
He's a
I,
coward.
yeah, he is. Even after the long night of work that he'd begun with the interview of Bayoumi the previous evening, Zelikow and Snell demurred when the Saudi intelligence men made it plain that they would like to see the man cleared. The commission, the memo writes, likely would not be in a position to issue statements of exoneration prior to the publication of its report. So, like, Saudi Arabia wasn't even, they weren't waiting for the final report. They wanted to exonerate him right off the bat. Now, in May of 2004, however, when the commission made public its findings on Bayoumi, it came close to the exoneration Saudi intelligence had requested. And Bayoumi is a devout Muslim, obligating and gregarious, the commission reported. It is certainly possible he had dissembled about some aspects of his story, perhaps to counter suspicion. But on the other hand, we have seen no credible evidence that he believed in violent extremism or knowingly aided extremist groups. Our investigations have dealt directly with him and studied his background, find him to be an unlikely candidate for clandestine involvement and Islamist extremists.
Oh, the irony.
It's amazing. Meanwhile, this is all in contradiction to what the FBI found in Operation Encore.
Hmm.
I mean, you can't make this up.
Yeah, this is like this is. I feel like this is like a movie,
Yeah,
directed by Hollywood. It really
it's
is. You can't make this
like,
up.
I mean, my fucking God, are they big liars? Prince Bandar, then still he was the Saudi ambassador to Washington, was delighted. Of course he was. The clear statements of this independent bipartisan commission have debunked the myths that have cast over Saudi Arabia. Quotations from the report favorable to Saudi Arabia were posted on the embassy's website and remained there for years. I didn't know that.
So, Adam, this all boils. This is why Americans don't trust their government
How
because
could you? Jeez.
That's why they always tell you to question things and all this stuff. But man, this is bad. This is so bad. And all just to remain loyal to Saudi Arabia. I guess for Saudi Arabia's bitch, I guess is the word, because man, they went to extreme lengths to cover this up. It's
You know,
embarrassing. It really
like,
is.
dude, when you look at the scope of this, like you have many years, right? You look at this and you're like, how do you vote?
You can't,
Jesus Christ. Right.
because
I mean, just
there's no accountability. Okay, so
none.
where's Dieter Snell and Philip Zalko at? Well, they're Romans. They're free. These guys did decade cover up for.
Like, how the fuck do they live with themselves?
You know what? They probably sleep fine, Adam. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. These guys. This is sickening. It really is. Um,
I'm disgusted.
this should be all over the news right now. Why is this? This is insane. I don't
Right.
get it, man.
Look, dude, man, I mean, I don't know much about this. Maybe you do because you're on Twitter a lot and, I'm banned, but Tucker Carlson's doing a series on 9/11. And I'll watch it. Even though I'm not a fan of Tucker Carlson, I'm going to watch it.
I'm gonna watch it
But I'm
because I
going to,
think I think Mark Rossini is in it, so
that's why I watch it. Yeah.
that's why I watch it. But no,
Yeah.
I'm not a Tucker fan because this is the same guy, and you got the video that shows like he basically called the truth movement a bunch of kooks, a bunch of freaks, and now he's like, oh, look at this now, Building 7 looks kind
Right.
of weird. And he can fuck off.
Right. Because I'm asking, like, is this going to be covered? Just this?
Um,
I don't know. I
I
don't think so.
I would hope Mark might bring it up. I don't know. I don't know how much Mark knows about this. I'm sure he knows some. I mean, he was part of the cover up. He saw firsthand. He saw
Yeah.
firsthand
Right.
with the
Right.
withhold of intelligence. That was a
Right.
cover up.
Right.
George Tenet lied. They all lied. It's just,
I'm gonna ask Mark Rossini later on in Messenger about how he felt with Tucker Carlson. I'm gonna ask him that.
yeah.
Now, look, Arthur Shannon would later report that the commission investigators who had probed the Saudi angle believed that they had explosive material. They did, not only
Yes.
on Bayumi, but unusual cash transfers from Prince Bando's wife who we talked about before, to another Saudi link to Bayumi. That's Osama Basnan.
Yes.
Their work, they believe, demonstrated a close link between Al Midar Hazmi and the Saudi government, and the draft findings for the report reflected that. So, in other words, before the final report was made, even the commission's draft report saw it. I
Yeah.
mean, and
Where
then they
was it?
still lied the covers. It's just like, God,
Yeah. It's
wow,
embarrassing, disgusting, whatever you want to say.
that's
It's
news to me.
yeah. You talk about this absolute cover up for Saudi Arabia. Oh, the
I mean,
money
everyone talks
transfer.
about Israel, like we're Israel's bitch. Dude, what the fuck is this?
What are we
Like
doing, dude?
the 9/11 Commission draft report
United
saw that there
States,
was a connection, and
United
they
States,
still covered it up.
United States needs to get new knee pads because that's
Jeez.
Jesus.
Then, okay, then late one night, as last minute changes began to the report, this is amazing, were being made. Shannon wrote in the commission book that the
Oh,
investigators received,
yeah,
that's the name of the
that's his
book,
book.
right?
That's his book, The Commission. Yeah.
Yeah. The investigators received alarming news. Senior counsel Dieter Snell, their team leader, was at the office of Executive Zelikow making major changes to the material, removing key elements.
Oh man,
Like,
is that man Snell?
oh my God.
What a rotten bastard.
What a wow.
Wow. Yeah. Fuck Snell.
Wow. So they were
Uh,
covering for Saudi Arabia right in his office. So that means the draft reports, that sort of connection.
Removing key
Right.
elements.
Exactly. Wow. The lead investigator, Michael Jacobson and Raj Day, hurried to the office to confront Snell. And he said he thought there was insufficient substance to the case against the Saudis. He lied straight up
Hmm.
because he saw the draft report. And they considered the possibility of resigning and settle for
Wow.
a compromise. Interesting. Wow. So even commission staffers who the truth would like to say they're all in on it are arguing
Had
with Snell
had a
about the Saudi
conscience.
role.
They had a conscience.
Yeah.
They're like, this ain't right, dude. This
Oh, I
ain't
didn't
justice.
know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a nice little piece right there to hold
Yes.
when you talk to truthers like, oh, the commission. No, there's people actually
No
were
way.
like they had a conscience. They knew this was wrong.
Look,
It's
I
actually
mean,
it's actually a
yeah,
good
I
piece to
thought,
keep.
oh man, dude, I'm gonna remember this because you know what? People like to generalize. They say all the entire federal government is compromised and evil. Well, look, man, I happen to believe that's untrue. You do, there's a person, they
Yeah.
had, like you said, they have a conscience, right? Hey, listen, I'm not going that far. Okay. I may
That
be part of the commission, but I'm not going to cover up something.
right. And that's why I never was in favor of saying Bush did 9/11 because
Right.
people would have people would have was he inept? Was he a war criminal? Yeah,
Yeah. Of course.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He covered up stuff because it made him look bad and looked the Saudis look bad, you know. But yeah, man, there's some people have consciences,
Yeah.
in the government, and right there it shows that they did.
Yeah.
They confronted Snell on it.
Yeah, I didn't know that, man. Now, look, for attorneys working on behalf of the survivors and their families, the documents released last week fit a pattern. Evidence, plaintiff's attorney Jody Flowers said in an email, was simply omitted intentionally
Yeah.
or never followed up on. And as a result, the 9/11 Commission's findings are of limited value. Now, Zelikow has zero credibility, said Twin Tower survivor Sharon Promoli. The outcome of this show trip to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was as intended, a dead end. And that given Bandar Bush's close relation with Saudi Arabia, both personal and business, I believe Prince Bandar prevailed upon President Bush to ensure that the kingdom would never be implicated in the attacks. Now, in a New York court, this is what me and Darin were talking about earlier. Uh, Judge Daniels made a momentous decision for the families to, 2-decade long quest to hold the kingdom for account for its punitive role in aiding and abetting the attacks. Daniels found there was reasonable evidence as to the roles played by Fahad Al Tamari, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, in assisting the hijackers. And he ends it here. It opens the possibility that the commission's decision to absolve Bayoumi and the kingdom will be left not to a government panel, but to a court of law.
That's refreshing. Court of law. You talk about
Yes,
refreshing words. Well, Adam, I mean, that's probably one of the best pieces I've read in a while.
in a long time.
In a long time, man. And yeah, it just shows that the 9/11 commission was full of holes. I'm not saying everything was wrong.
Right, right.
It was full of holes and full of cover up. And for those who go by the 9/11 commission report, really read this article by the Florida Bulldog. This should change your mind a little bit about some stuff. There was insane cover up. It really
I'm gonna
was. I
look.
mean, there's no way to, you know, say this in a nice way. Like this is a shame. This is disgusting. You know. Um,
I'm flabbergasted at that they intentionally knew that in their draft report there was reasonable suspicion to blame Saudi Arabia for the attacks, and they withheld that information and went and omitted it from the report.
yeah. I
Oh
mean,
my! I mean, wow.
Dieter Snell and Zelikow should be in prison.
Oh, I mean, at least under the prison. Just God's sakes, I don't even know what to say. But
It's
like, this
it
is gonna look.
sucks.
This is the reason why we do these videos and we update you, the public, about what's going on.
Hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
it's unfortunate, Darin. It's unfortunate that we
It
have a
really is.
limited circle between us, and that we don't have like the affordability or the availability of others because we either have a media, a fifth column, and the government withholding information, and you have the truth movement who are disseminating bad information. And I like to say that I'm fighting a war on two fronts. We are a war
Yeah.
for information and a war against disinformation.
Yeah. So here's the bottom line, guys.
Mm,
If you don't believe in hijackers or planes, none of this information will do you any good because it all goes back to if you don't believe in hijackers, and then who the hell was Omar Bayumi supporting? Fake
bingo.
characters. it all goes back. You, if you don't believe in hijackers, none of this, and this is all proven fact, none of this is even remotely
Correct.
should be considered. Because if you don't have hijackers, you don't have all of this, state sponsorship,
Right. Nothing.
Saudi, even Israeli stuff. So it's really people need to talk to people about who don't believe in no hijackers, no planes, man. It's sickening because now who are you going to implicate? There's no you can find malfeasance in our government, within
Of
the
course.
CIA, within the FBI. There's cover up within the Bush administration with the cover up with um George Bush with the Saudis, and you have uh, the 9/11 Commission report with Zelikow, Dieter Snell, and others. This is guys. This is explosive information, but you know, it all depends what you do with it. And yeah, so like I said, you don't believe in hijackers. This means nothing.
You don't, right. It goes back to the point that you made. There's no hijackers. You have no foreign or domestic intelligence following because who are they
Yes.
following? Nobody. All
Right.
right, the planes themselves. There's no hijackers on planes. That means that nobody was on the planes. The planes aren't real.
Right.
So that means they didn't crash anywhere. So now you don't have any connection between foreign governments, federal government, the intelligence services, and any reasoning behind it. And if you're going to say all this is fictional and that, there's drones or there's make believe people, well, then tell me, how is it that you are still stuck 24 years later believing the same old things and not showing the evidence for any of this? Because your positions are not valid. End of story. And
Yeah,
people like
really
Martin
is.
Rice and Creedler and the victims' families who, have evidence of Saudi involvement, well, they're the ones in court. You're not. Richard Gage is not in court. Barbara Honegger is not in court. In fact, Richard Gage,
It
by
never,
the
it
way,
never will
Darren,
be in
is
court.
making a movie about a courtroom,
A fake
about
courtroom.
yeah, fake courtroom. That's what he's doing.
Well, they're in Washington right now. There's their little
Yes. Yep.
convention they're having. So,
Yeah.
um, I don't agree with a lot of what they say. We've had our dealings with a lot of them.
Hmm.
Um, I've kind of I'm starting to wise up in my age because there's no reason. I'm even friends with a couple of them on Facebook, and I have cordial talks with them. We don't agree a lot of things on 9/11. Trust me, we don't agree on a lot of things, but I'm trying to maintain that communication line just in case one day they say, hey, you know what, I'm really interested in this. That way, if they don't have me blocked, I don't have them blocked, we can still have that
Right.
conversation. So I'm trying to
Right.
maintain that relationship with some people. Because
Good
before,
on you.
yeah, because pretty much, when I first started doing with you guys, I was pretty much like, F you, F this, you're an effing idiot. You're,
Same.
you're
Same.
you're all this. And yeah, I've come to realize now that's not how you talk to people. That's not how you communicate
No.
with people.
No.
You want to have that open line. Do I get frustrated sometimes? Sure, I do. Because the information's here. It's right here in front of us, people. And it's what we do with it. And this isn't made up stuff. This stuff is going to a court of law. So get ready.
Yeah, I can't wait for the upcoming months.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, like guys, listen, I'm going to cut it short. We'll cut it out right
Yep.
now. But listen,
Yep.
thanks a lot for doing this, Darren, with
Yes.
me on the eve of the 24th anniversary. And
Yes.
we're going to still continue doing videos and providing content for you, the public,
Yeah.
and be on the lookout because we're always updating stuff and
Yeah.
keeping you updated on what's going on.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Darren,
And thanks for having me on, man. It was great
yeah,
talking to you again. I know we haven't done this in a while, so hopefully we can continue doing this because, like I said, we're always gonna bring something new. Try to bring something
right,
new to you guys.
right, right,
Regarding, we're not gonna be stuck on buildings. We're gonna try to ground talk everything, and
right.
um, hopefully you guys enjoy this video too. So you know, going forward.
Yeah, listen, guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.